Welcome to the Fifth Trooper Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Fifth Trooper Podcast. My name is Jay Shalansky, and joining me, as always, is Evan, Trash Panda, Boris.
How's it going, Jay?
It's going great, my little clawed friend.
I'm a man, Jay. I'm a man.
Sure you are. That's exactly what a raccoon would tell me.
Oh.
So we're back. We took a little hiatus after LVO. Evan was tired from doing raccoon trashy things, and I was tired from LVO.
Yeah.
You had something going on that weekend, too. You did something. I don't remember, but you did something
Okay.
over LVO. Anyways, I don't know. Raided some trash cans, got into the neighbor's pie,
wait.
ate some bread and sandwiches, some biscotti. What else did you have?
So I did go to my friend's wife's birthday at a casino.
Yeah.
And then I watched a woman drop a cigarette on her arm and then into her lap.
Ooh.
And then still keep hitting those
So
things.
you had a similar experience to what we had.
And I looked over at him like, is this like a purgatory hell kind of
I
situation
love it.
we're in? They won't care? Like, nah. I'm like, okay, well, all right.
Oh my god, that's amazing. So we what we're gonna do, something a little special. So two things actually that are a little different this week. One, we're gonna do, because we missed last week, we're gonna actually have two episodes this week. This episode that you're listening to is going to be just a normal Fifth Trooper episode. We've got some stuff we want to talk about, plus an interview that Evan did, and then we're also gonna have a LVO wrap up podcast, and that'll be with LJ and some other people who were at LVO, and so that'll be another episode. So you're gonna get two episodes this week, which is really exciting. So that's what's happening this week. Now, the other thing too is we're gonna get back into, I don't know, a few months maybe. I know the time is, it's hard when you're doing a podcast once a week to like gauge time anymore, like what episode
it all
you
just
did
kind of blends.
something.
Honestly.
So I guess months ago we had started breaking our podcast into segments, and then we kind of floated away from that because there was like different stuff going on, and there actually wasn't as much going on in the
Dry news for a while.
right, in the Legion
even,
scope. Yeah. So we kind of went away from the blocking system. We're gonna go back to that. So we're gonna go back to, we got segments again, and we're gonna get back on track with that, which I'm really excited about. And quite frankly, it helps keep me in particular. It helps my mind, because sometimes when we do the podcast, or even like some of the live streaming, my mind is all over the place, and it's not very conductive sometimes to a really good podcast. So I think when doing this kind of blocking system again and having our segments will be really good and keep me on track and keep me on topic, which is positive, because there have been a number of recordings that Evan and I have thrown out because Jay loses his mind about some nonsense soapboxing. So hopefully we can keep on track. And,
I mean, we've both been there, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
We've thrown out a stream. We were gonna do like a one of our battle reports, and then like it was one of the ones. So it was for like 2 weeks.
Was it like a skirmish, I think?
No. This was like the full 800 point.
Yeah, that's right.
For like 2 weeks, going back and forth. Either of us, our dice variance would just be really insanely high, and then either one of us would get a little torqued. And I got pretty torqued. I brought clones. No, this was a skirmish. Yeah, because I brought clones. You brought double dewback.
Yeah.
And like you were one-shotting like groups of clones with surge tokens.
yeah.
And near the end, I'm like, yep, I need to not play. And I get like the game didn't mean anything, but like I was just so shocked that like it was just things were getting evaporated.
Because you may as well not even had dice.
Yeah, like you're just like 8 hits, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
okay, I'll lose 2 or 3, like 8 blanks. I'm like, why am I even playing? Right, like I mean, there's a lot that goes on what we do that we want to give you the best products.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and I'll say for the podcast, it's very infrequent that happens. We don't give you like what we said in the moment. Generally,
like
we do not edit podcasts at all.
Nope.
Ever. I don't think I've edited a single podcast for audio. But sometimes we'll re-record an entire episode, or we'll just toss an episode in the garbage because quite frankly, I was garbage, or Evan felt like he wasn't up to snuff or something.
Or like,
so.
We'll have an opinion on it, and then like we'll sleep on it. One of the others will go like,
what, I don't like a real hot take on something.
Yeah, like no, we shouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Like, you know,
Right.
but that's happened like maybe 2 or 3 times.
Right, and the
total.
difference is, like, for instance, a lot of you got my hot takes at LVO during the live stream because I was a little tired, a little wired,
The madman.
and I went off, and I don't regret it at all, but I probably could have said it differently, but that's all okay, and we're going to move on, and so we got our new old... What's that from Scott Pilgrim? My new old girlfriend, or my old new girlfriend. So anyways, so we got our new old segments again, and I'm really excited about that. So first up is housekeeping. So a couple of really cool things. Number one, just a reminder, if you want to support us, if you liked the live stream from Vegas, the reason we were able to do that and make that happen was because of our Patreon supporters. Please, please, please support us on Patreon. The Evan the Raccoon stickers that I owe everyone from December will be going out this week. Sorry for the delay on that. LVO, Matt's release. There was a lot of things going on. So all your stickers will be going out this week by the end of the week. So those are going out. And please support us on Patreon. That's how we make live streaming possible. That's how we bring that to you, because we don't get paid for that. We actually pay to go do that. We pay... whoever, whatever show we're going to, we're paying them to live stream their event.
When it shocked me the first time they asked for money for internet or something. I'm like, well, this is like free advertising for you. And like,
no, they don't see it like that at all.
No,
yeah.
Yep.
Very few. Adapticon is very good to us. Yeah. So I'm not to disparage them at all. They are wonderful
Being
to
the
us.
exception.
Yeah. So support us on Patreon to keep these great live streams coming and get, the Fifth Trooper Network is growing. So we're bringing on talented people to these different events. And in order to get those people there, in order to have the like of Alex Davey there, these type of people supporting us on Patreon is the way to make that happen and to continue those great live streams. Secondly, so our mats have been selling really well. We've sold out of a couple brands already. We sold out of Desert, and we are now out of Beach as well.
Yep.
And we're soon going to be out of Sidebars. So what we're doing is we're actually going to be placing another order of mats, but not just the ones we're out of stock. I've actually have 3 or 4 new designs. Plus, we're re-releasing the mud mats as a special Adepticon mat without the sidebars built in. So the full 6x4 mud mat will be available at Adepticon.
All right, cool. Sweet.
As well as another special that'll be available at Adepticon, red sidebars.
Cool. Can you get these online as well if you can't make it to Adepticon?
Yes. So what we're going to do is probably starting next week, it's a lot of work to get it to that place, and I got to get pricing down and everything. What we're going to do is we're going to have a special Adepticon pre-order page on our website, okay? There's going to be, we are coming up with hold on one second, the Trash Panda collection from the Fifth Trooper of t-shirts. So if you've seen any of our training cards, our alt art training cards with Evan the Raccoon on there, we actually are going to make a couple t-shirts. We may have a Churro and Blaze t-shirt. So we're going to have the Trash Panda collection by the Fifth Trooper t-shirts that'll be available at Adepticon. We'll have these mats and sidebars that'll be available at Adepticon, and the event decks. Also, I know I had told some people we were going to make it for this week, but I have to work some stuff out. There was some feedback. So for those of you that didn't know, our event decks were the narrative. So the narrative events at LVO were all our event decks. There was some feedback from the players and the GMs and everything, and so we take that to heart. So we're going to have to make some adjustments to some of the cards just so they make more sense and they play better. Yeah. But it was very few. So I just need to make those. And so what we're going to do is the t-shirts, the event decks, and these mats, even the ones we're out of stock of, and the new designs that we're doing, and the red sidebars, these will all be available for pre-order. You can either pick them up at Adepticon, we'll bring them with us to Adepticon, or we'll ship them once we get back from Adepticon out to you. So that's the goal. So look out for that next week. So if you're going to Adepticon or you're in the Chicago area, you can just swing by Adepticon and pick them up, and we'll have them there held for you. Also, if you don't want to pre-order and you want to come see this stuff, we will be at Adepticon. We will have a booth. Everyone in the Fifth Trooper squad will be running the booth at some point, including Rachel. So we'll all be there. You'll get to meet us. You'll get to take a look at our wares while you're there. Really excited for that. I'm trying to think what else. So we do have some all art cards with Evan the Raccoon on them. We will have those available at Adepticon as well for you to kind of pick up. I don't have a price on those or what I'm thinking. It may just be a giveaway. I don't know at this point. But we will have those available. And if you sign up for our Patreon, another reason to sign up for our Patreon, I can tell you that we have a lot of great all art cards planned with Evan the Raccoon taking the various positions in the Legion armies. So it's very exciting. So those will be up, and I'll send out announcements on all the group pages and everything once that's ready. So that's kind of our housekeeping for now. So why don't we move into news?
Yeah.
News from the week in Legion.
All right, now for the world of Legion news, I'm going to turn it over to our local neighborhood trash panda in the field. He's in his trash-copter.
Is that my helicopter? Oh, geez, looks like there's a nice dumpster back there, Mr. J. Might get myself some half-eaten onion rings if I play my cards right.
This has been sponsored by Tim's Garbage Cans on the corner of 12th and Walnut.
Doug's Fish Market. Get your fish heads out back. No big deal. Anyway.
So what's in the news, my friend?
So we've had a couple articles come out about product, and we've had a couple articles written about from the community for FFG. Those Legion 101 stuff that's been really great. If you get a chance to read on that and give that some clicks for them, that goes a long way for them for that. But as for new spoiled information from FFG, we've got the B2 Super Battle Droids look like have been fully spoiled. The card that we didn't see that was added was the two side gun characters you can add on are the B2 ACM Trooper, the one that's 1 to 2 like the rest of the squad, adds 3 red. Cool.
Okay.
Pretty good. LJ gave me a thwapping with them. Turns out sometimes when you throw 9 dice, it doesn't feel very good.
Yeah.
When it's 3 red, 3 black, 3 white. And what's interesting about them is if you really hate snipers, or dealing with them, or like having your guys picked off, the only way a sniper can hurt them in heavy covers with a critical.
Yep.
Right, because they have armor 1, so they have to throw 2 to even get it over there.
So speaking of armor 1, this was a question that we got at our Prime this weekend. Someone asked me, does the armor 1 count for the unit or per mini?
Oh, it's probably the unit. It's got to be. Otherwise, that'd be
stupid.
Armor 5
right.
or something like it. Just forget it. It's got to be the unit. So we've got that gun. We also got shown. Let me make sure that was the only thing that was new. They showed the card and the art for the extra unit. That's 16 points, but I think we kind of saw that.
Yep.
But it's the B2 Ha, the B2 HA Trooper. It's a range 2 to 3, 2 red, 1 white tap weapon. Keywords of blast, impact 2, and cycle. Now, what's pretty cool is cycle is an interesting keyword, which I got a little grump when I saw that because I'm like, man, that'd be really great for tons of the other ion guns and things like that. But what cycle is at the end of the activation, if you did not use this card, ready it. So turn 1, tap, fire, 2 red, 2 white, 3 into cover. You have blast, so you ignore it. So bam, get some guys. Or it's impact 2, so maybe hurt vehicle. And then next turn, if you don't recover to untap it, the turn 3 it comes back. Or end of turn 2 it comes back. So you have for turn 3. So it's every unit on the table only ever can do 12 things a whole game, right? So 6 turns and each thing gets to do 2 things, minus some janky pull string
relentless.
Anything like that. But they generally only get to do 12 things.
Yeah.
So this is really saving you a recover action every other turn, right?
It's nice, and it's kind of has that mechanic. I've seen this in other games, like the time mechanic, where it's okay, for 2 rounds, this is once you use this, it'll cycle back in 2 rounds, and I think that's a better way of doing things than just with certain weapons. Than like you said, some okay, if the HH12 had cycle,
dude, that makes sense, right? The guy just reloads it, so I like the fact that you can fire. And the next turn, if you got to fire it again, recover fire.
Yeah.
Right? You can use it every turn if you want to, But like take any of the like the Fleet Trooper, the Snow Trooper, like guns that are tap to fire ion, you'll maybe never get a chance to recover to do that again, right? It's a one shot, and then you just hope that the unit doesn't die. So I think cycle's a really good keyword, really strong, and I hope they maybe go back and give a couple. Not everything needs cycle. Some guns should be, I do something really good. Maybe I do it because I have a very special effect, or I cost not a lot. So the recover is like my payment back to get to use it. But again, like HH-12 and the Rebel Trooper, the 2 red ion gun, like who cares? Give it cycle. Like maybe it'll see some play. But so that's that is a really interesting gun. The blast is super interesting. So if you just want to save it for a range 2 where you dump all your dice into a guy and say, sorry about the cover, bud, or you can throw it into a tank and maybe do some damage. So I'm actually really, at first I was writing these guys off, but the more I see them, like the sniper not immunity, but like when they're behind heavy cover and snipers are trying to plink them off to kill them, like, nah.
So they're still doing that thing where I feel like they're outpricing, like everything that taps gets outpriced than the regular gun, right?
Oh yeah, so the regular three red is 26 points.
Granted, it's range 1 to 2, and this is range 2 to 3. It's still 3 dice. You got a couple, you got blast and impact too, but
so it's
for almost 10 for what,
8 more points.
6,
so it's
6.
You have to look at it like the standard of how everything's been made is the all-rounder is going to be cheaper. Yeah. And the thing that's specific against generally vehicles, it's always been vehicles. Yeah. Costs some. And the reason I don't know, but if I were to guess, the reason for this is, well, if the guy brought a vehicle, they paid a heavy price to have it, right? Like
yes,
an ATST.
Right. So you don't want just anything.
You don't want it to be miserable, right? Like, because if Ion was ever good, so Ion is very niche, and that's niche in good situations. But if Ion ever just became generically good, where it says, "Hey, you don't get to play this game," yikes, right? You don't want that. That's like an X-Wing philosophy. If you can't play your unit, why bring it? We also got the spoiler for the Saber Tank for clones. And so there's one card still unspoiled, but I think they're going to save it. It looks like a Bunker Buster shell in the spread, but I think they'll probably save that for the AAT clone tank, because all the shells are interchangeable for what it looks like. But let's see. So new spoiled stuff. So we'll go over, we've got the Veteran Clone Pilot. This was in the stream, but they've got a nice full art that's easy to read here. He's a tap. 7-point pilot. While you or a friendly clone trooper at range 1 and in line of sight attacks or defends, you and that unit can spend each other's aim, dodge, and surge tokens during the end phase. Ready this card. So
that comes in handy with outmaneuver on the tank, because for outmaneuver you can spend a dodge token, or spend dodge tokens to cancel crit results, which. Dude, vehicles have been needing something like so. If you run Veers, like for instance, my double heavy list I played at LVO, and you can watch my last game on stream if you want on our LVO stream. But I have the Veers 2-pip card that gives me a dodge and lets me cancel a crit. So it's a little bit of that, but built into the card. And then with the clones, dude, clone sharing, green tokens is crazy. Right?
I do like how this is a until end of, like, you get it back at the end of the turn too, so it's not like you do it and your tank's like not moving again for a turn, right? Like, so that's super cool. But if you really want to get crazy, so Plo Koon, he was another pilot spoiled. He's so he's a free action tap. Until the end of your activation, you gain Agile 2. So after you perform a standard move, gain 2 dodge. So if you need to move, he gets 4 dodge tokens.
I find it interesting that they've limited him to the TX-130 Saber class fighter tank only.
Well, first appearance of him, right? So maybe Plo Koon becomes a playable guy. Now you have to pick him in the tank or him on the field, right? Because that's cool. That was like a cool X-Wing thing. Like, do I want Luke as the gunner, or do I want Luke as the... Right. But Plo is like insanely cool. So if you just need breakthrough, you're like 4 dodges. I have armor. I roll red dice.
So it can. Here's slightly concerning. And not a big concern, but just a little one. So they got Ala Sakura, right?
Yep.
Also in here. So does that mean that the potential of seeing them as playable minis is gonna lessen because now they're already cards?
I don't think so. If that was my case on it, because that makes interesting choices appear.
Yeah.
Because Ala, she was spoiled earlier, but now they have like a nice full, like good size card. The tank gains Aspire 2, which is insanely good for A clones and B in a thing that can't ever run away. So it always just Inspire.
Right.
Plus in the tank, she's only 5 points too, and she gains Field Commander.
Yeah.
Field Commanders, you can play neutral cards off her. So let's say you've got
Obi-Wan as your main.
Yeah, and he's out, not close, to the rest of your team. You can play like a assault or push or ambush off her on somebody else. That's super cool and interesting.
So like given for instance of this, let's say you wanted the tank to have the order and you play ambush, but let's say Obi-Wan's at outside of range 3, or one of those new cards that limits War Weary, which limits the range.
Oh, yep.
You could play Sakura here, and she could give it to herself to the tank, so that then the tank could have an order.
It's interesting too. So when we Jay and I played in a Prime over this weekend, and there was. We won't go into it too much, but more or less the tables where there was no line of sight blocking terrain.
We'll talk. Yeah, we're going to talk about it later.
But what he did, he hid his snipers behind his tank, so I couldn't just turn one bombard and then make him lose three activations. And so I didn't really ever think about that because my airspeeder doesn't do anything. Right, just not blocking anything. It's never been an issue. It just flies. So, but with the tank, moving it doing the old World War II style where you push the tank forward. And then your guys walk behind it to get that line of sight blocking. And with Plo Koon's big thing was always the one, I think it's episode even 4 of Clone Wars. They're like, why do you care about us? We're just clones. He's like, you matter to me, right? So, and it's always Plo's bros. So you can make those lists of Plo Koon can move up, and if the only thing they can fire at's a tank, he's taking the hits for the team, and he doesn't care, right? It's just you're invincible. Next card revealed, the TX-130 Twin TLT, getting flashbacks from X-Wing 1.0. But it's a TLT, so it's 1/3, 3 black, critical 1. It's pretty good, pretty standard.
14 points, that's not bad.
On a tank. Now the beam was shown on the stream as well.
Yeah, this thing's sick.
So the TX-130 beam cannon turret, 1/4, 2 red. Now it's beam 2. So what beam is? There's a lot of speculation. Does it just old school war gamers were well, do you draw a line and then everything gets hit? Kinda. So how it works is after the first attack, so you beam something like a droid unit, right? You can make 2 extra attacks, and each attack has to be on a different unit, and they have to be in range 1 of the previous unit.
And is in line of sight.
Yep. So you can actually shoot outside of range 4.
So it has to not already defended and is in range of 1 of the previous.
So
defender.
you hit somebody at range 4, and then if there's a range 5 unit, then a range 6, you can really beam down. Now it's 2 red and it doesn't surge or anything.
But guess what?
Suppression.
You can fire support each beam attack.
Yeah, you sure can. Having having the tank in the back not get dead, then someone throws a full Z6 into it.
Yeah. So
cool.
each, not just the first beam,
because it's separate.
It's a subsequent attack. So each one you can fire support.
I think the dream for me was because I love getting Rex into the fight.
Yeah.
So you scout party Rex up with a couple of the new shotguns, or I'm calling them shotguns. You move them up, and then the tank's in the back and it can't quite get there. Then you play Call Me Captain, where he gets to fire support for free.
Yep.
And then you just beam 3 things, and he gets to add 3 more red dice, so it's 5 red dice at 3 different targets. It's bam, 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 right? You don't surge or anything, but you're just looking for you'll get at least 1 to 2 over cover, assuming you don't roll too many blanks or crits.
That's for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
The next card revealed in this is the armor piercing. This is also on the stream. So it's a cycle, which is important that now these cards are trying to have a cycle.
Because it does tap. Yep.
It does tap. 10 points. Fixed front. Impact 3. Range 2 to 3. 1 black. 1 red, 2 black tap. So every other turn you can fire the cycle shell. Interesting because 10 points. So the 2 new tanks have that so they have a pilot, a hard point, a shell slot, and a comm. It'd be interesting if because you could keep the tank in pretty much any meta, and whatever the bunker buster does, I'm assuming probably ignores cover. I'm just guessing. But you could, instead of having to switch out the whole tank, because right now if anti-vehicle became a thing, the airspeeder just has to go away. At 7 hit points, white dice just dies.
Yeah.
But maybe with this, instead of if it goes anti-vehicle, it becomes a thing. So you put in your shells, right? And then if people stop bringing vehicles, you put in bunker buster, right? You can mod the tank to keep doing multiple rolls instead of right now The ATST, you can kind of do that, but this is like a less of a commitment, right?
Yeah.
You can just do a shell instead of like well, this gun I want the grenade, but it's only 1 to 2. It's hard to get that. You won't get there, right?
Yeah.
Like I think this tank's going to be, I'm super excited.
Yeah, I really, so like we had talked about this before. So, Evan's going clones, and if I'm going to go battle droids, that's
Maybe.
And I'm maybe I'm sticking with droids and Empire. Empire is my focus, but then droids maybe secondary. But I'm really excited for these tanks. They look dope as
Dude, even both, like I've been like low key just buying droids kind of slowly.
Yeah.
I was at the shop Friday, and one of our guys, he's like, I want clones, but I don't want a box. I'm like, look, I'll split it. Here's $40. Give me the droids. He's like, oh, sweet. So
Yeah.
I've got Greaves and a couple more droids. So I'll eventually have a droid army, like really slowly.
Mm-hmm.
I will buy the tank even if I don't have a droid army for each side, because it just looks cool, man. Like,
yeah, it's we're getting to that point. We've talked about this before real quick, is that like it's getting to that point where you got to pick and choose what you're buying now, because it's just too much. Like for instance, the unit upgrade packs.
Oh jeez.
I had to get 4 of the Empire ones because of what I wanted to do, and I'm like, so I was looking at the other ones, going, okay, well, clones I don't care about because I'm never gonna play clones. And I go, okay, do I want the Rebel ones? Because I may play, because my whole goal was to keep up on Civil War,
and just pick and choose on.
Yeah, and then pick and choose. But then I'm like, I don't think I can even keep up with Rebels anymore. So I'm like, you know what? There wasn't anything great in the upgrade packs for Rebels, so I'm gonna skip this one. Maybe I'll get it later. I got Operative Vader, and I got four boxes of the clone upgrades,
the
stormtrooper upgrades, yeah. And so that's kind of where I'm sitting right now. And then with the tanks and like all the other releases that are coming up,
dude, I'm
not even gonna buy C-3PO and R2-D2. I don't even care about that.
because you'll never really use them.
I don't care about the bunker.
Yeah.
So it's getting to that point. Like in Warhammer,
You just got to pick an army.
you pick and choose, or then what you have to do is go back. Like if like I was an Orc Goblin player, and then I have to go back and like, oh, I want to play Empire, and then I have to like buy all the Empire shit,
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting. But
yeah, it's I'm feeling the pain too, because I didn't buy. I stopped really buying for my Imperial army months and months ago when I started just going Rebels until clones came out. But I saw the packs, and I'm like, well, that Pinto is real good.
Yeah.
Pretty much both the guns in the Empire are real strong. So I ended up buying 2 clones and 2 droids. And I'm like, oh man, that DLT for Rebels is real good. I can't afford that, because I bought R2-D2 too, because I'll use those in at least 2 of my armies. So I'm actually at the point where, like, I'm like, man, I just gotta settle down on one. But I play all the armies in this game because I find them all fun.
Right.
Like I really do love this game, and I like to play all the armies. So the problem is I can't do that, right? I gotta just pick some. But I'm getting to the point. It used to be like you'd get a release of months, and you'd be like, Vader, like Veer's like, okay, well, here's $20. Cool, got a both, right?
It's definitely getting hard now, right?
Now it's
like I looked at the bunker at the store we were at this weekend. I'm like, nope, not even venturing into that.
Like it'd be interesting. Maybe we do a stream game of doing like the objective sword or something, right? Just like
we got to do the down to ATST.
Yeah, we got down to ATST. We got the down crash pod now, and then I'll get the bunker probably at some point, just because I don't actually own any. I don't own Great Legion terrain. Never. I'm hoping maybe I'll win some store credit or something, maybe to do that. But
okay, so just to wrap up news, it looks like tanks will be released. I mean, they're saying end of February, but we'll see. I am not confident in that at all.
I'm not
on any
but
level.
I'm going to be hopefully optimistic, because that'd be really cool to.
They'll be available for Worlds.
Yeah, that'd be, because then like I was gonna go with clones, and I'm like, well, at the tank, man, and I feel really just
because really clones right now is an 8 activation list, and that just doesn't survive at that level, unfortunately.
Yeah,
and a lot of people brought 8 activation lists over at LVO, and they're good until a point, and then they just start to like dwindle a little bit, right?
If you lose like an activation the first turn, and they didn't, it feels not good.
But okay, so next up, that's gonna do it for news. And next up, Evan did an interview with
Jakob. He was the Polish TO for the Polish TO. Well, he was in Poland, and they did the TO for their Prime. They only really had one.
Okay.
Where we
so it's a big deal for them.
they had 35 players.
Okay.
And I'll go into there's some the list that won was probably saw it coming, but the list that came in second was real interesting. So
Great.
listen to this. He'll go over that, and I'm hoping he's going to the one in England. So I'd like to get his. I'll probably have him back on.
Great.
To do that, so we get some more of that international kind of stuff going on.
So listen as our neighborhood raccoon goes international.
Ground crew, can you hear me?
How's it going, everybody? Today is a special report. I have with me Jakob Yamura, also known as Susano in the Discord, and he was it Grand Marshal?
Yeah, I was the head judge on our regional Prime Championship.
Yeah, so he was the head judge for their Prime Championship, and it's always interesting to hear from people outside the U.S., especially since the game is growing considerably everywhere. But it's also cool just to get some people in who play in other local events where their meta game is different than ours. Especially always in Europe, it's always interesting because it's different ways of thinking. So you get some really cool stuff. So, all right, man, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
So, as you said, I was the head judge on our local Prime Championship. And in everyday life, I work at local game store. So I try to promote Legion as much as I can.
Okay. Right in the field, huh? Like right
yeah,
in the front lines.
Showing the game constantly, basically.
Oh, that's cool. So you judged the it was like was it it was a regional. It wasn't like an RPQ or a Prime, right?
It was basically in the new tournament structure. The Prime Championship replaces the old regional championship.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So I am calling it regional because I'm mixing old and new name for the same event, basically.
No, that's fine. I mean, it's hard to keep up with all the changing ways they name these things.
Yeah, basically Prime is the new regional.
Okay, cool. Yep, awesome. And how many people did you have attend?
We had 32 players, which was enormous. It was the biggest event in Poland that we ever held. Even our national championship was smaller. There were only 23 players, some from Lithuania and Great Britain.
Oh, okay.
But here we had only Polish players, and they came from all over Poland, from Wrocław, from Gdańsk, from Poznań. So we had from almost all parts of the country.
Oh wow, that's pretty awesome. I mean, it's funny you say that. We had back when they were RPQs last year in November, we had 12 people show up, and then for the Prime this year we had 25, I believe.
So we had more.
Yeah. So you had a lot more, and that's pretty awesome. How were the tables there? Did you were they supplied by like all the local folks? Did your store supply them?
We had the tournament organizer prepared some tables, but some of them were transferred to us but from the other communities.
Okay, cool.
So some guys took their tables with them.
Oh, okay, that's cool. We I know when Jay and I travel, we carry usually our Mimbam mud board and a few other like of our special standout ones. But I've noticed also that Legion boards are getting just better in general as the game goes on. I don't know what you've seen.
There are a lot of photos on Legion Facebook page, on Legion Facebook group, and there are a lot of pictures from the event, including the tables before the whole event even started.
Oh, cool. All right, man, that's awesome. So you had messaged us earlier about some of the lists that were there, but what interesting lists did you see?
So first of all, we had 13 Imperials, 10 Rebels, 2 Separatists, and 5 Republic players.
It's a pretty good split.
The winner was Paweł Salecki. He was playing the Imperials, and he ran Krennic with Death Troopers, Royal Guards, 3 Short Troopers, and 3 Mortars, I believe.
Okay. So
And 2 snipers. And 2 snipers. So I think it's pretty much a meta list.
Yeah.
However, the second player, Paweł Gimlet Szymkowiak, ran the Rebels, and his list is very interesting because it contains Jyn Erso, Sabine Wren, Fleet Troopers, 1 unit of Rebel veterans, 1 medium blaster trooper, 3 Rebel troopers with Z6, 1 strike team, and Rebel Pathfinders with PAO. So it's really out of the meta kind of list.
Yeah, no, I mean
to the US.
Yeah, no, that's a super interesting list actually, because it's I chagrin and lament. I feel bad for the fact that I feel like Fleet Troopers have kind of got pushed out, and they were one of my favorites compared to some new stuff. So seeing them in there is pretty cool.
He had a scattergun on them and Rebel officer to boost their morale.
Yeah, they really needed to get to the front.
But this list really proves that if you manage to learn how to play certain list, you can do good with it, even if in theory is out of the meta.
No, sure. I mean, he had one of everything. That's very rare to see. Usually when I make lists anyway, I pick my leaders and I take 1 core and then I just do all Z6s or all Rebel vets kind of thing. So it's interesting to see a bunch of everything.
He included all 3 trooper types in
that's really cool.
At least. Moving on the third player was Jakob Yamura. He was also playing an Imperial, and this was pretty standard 3 speeder bikes kind of list. I believe he had Veers and Boba inside there. And on number 4 was the Republic player. And it was shock because Jakub Karaś, the player who earned that 4th place, he had to play 3 mirror matches.
Oh, jeez.
There were 5 Republic players overall. He played against 3 of them.
Oh, man. That's how the brackets go sometimes, right?
Yeah, and he lost to that Rebel list in the last game, but his list was also interesting. I know that people right now tend to force a lot of Phase 1 clone troopers equipped with everything, and maybe 1 Bark Speeder, I think. Yeah. So his list was Obi-Wan Kenobi, Clone Captain Rex, 3 Phase 1 clone trooper unit with Z6, 2 completely naked Phase 1 clone troopers for the token coverage for the other ones. And he had 2 Bark Speeders with comms jammer. Only comms jammer, nothing else. So that really worked really well for him. When you cannot issue orders to stuff that you need, it can really cripple all of your plans, and he capitalized on that.
Oh, that's
so
really
that
good,
was,
actually. Yeah.
And I played him before the event, and I was in shock about how much damage they can deal, even without any additional weapons. Because you still have the arsenal too, so you can use the main gun, but the pilot also has his blaster, so he still rolls pretty decent amount of dice. It's cheaper and can block your order pool.
Well, that's really good. They're only 75 points, I believe, so that's pretty
80.
Pretty good.
Exactly 80 points with including the comms jammer.
Okay, that's not bad. Interesting, because I keep I really want Republic to do well, so I'm always interested to hear what lists do well. That's not just the standard Obi Rex 6 cores just kind of decked out sort of thing.
Yeah, he really thought this list through and he planned it ahead of time. Of course, we didn't have the weapon upgrades for them yet, for the phase 1 clones. But with what he had to work with, it was pretty nice and well thought list.
No, yeah, especially since most people take the DC-15s over the Z6s. But I always think every once in a while, man, one of those Z6 will just throw like 3 or 4 damage, and that really feels good. So that's cool, man, especially with the fire support, because you can fire support into the barks and give them surge to hit, right?
And with the latest rules that I consulted with Alex Davey, including the Rex fire support, it really shows how much firepower the Z6s have right now. I don't know if you are aware about that, but Rex, when he has fire support turn, he can fire support both pools of dice if you split fire.
Oh, I did not know that.
So right now you know. And I consulted it before the event with Alex. He didn't respond it to me before the event started, but after the event he confirmed that indeed it works that way. So you can fire Z6 into one thing and regular brasses into other thing, and Rex can fire support both pools.
Oh wow, okay, that's pretty awesome.
And from the interesting lists on rank number 5, we had Piotr Świetlicki. He was second on our Polish national championships, only beaten by a small margin by the guy from the United Kingdom.
All right, cool.
And he was running triple dewbacks.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that was really fun to see. Each of them painted completely different colors, so they all stood out on the tabletop, and it was pretty fun.
Oh, that's cool, man. Triple dues. Jay will be happy to hear that. He's that's like even though he's not playing them right now, that is one of his favorite units. So to hear that triple dues made 5th is pretty awesome.
No, he lost his third game, but all 3 he won pretty conveniently.
Oh wow, okay, man. I guess they're just giant like damage sinks, right? They're pretty hard to kill when they want to.
Yeah, and especially when there are 3 of them running at you.
Oh man.
And of course, we didn't have any towns in the top 5.
Okay,
so
that's telling.
And on number 6, we also had the Republic player. So only one Rebel did the top 6 cut, I would say.
Okay.
2 Republic, 3 Imperial players.
That's interesting. It's cool to see Republic kind of bounce in there. Everyone's kind of expected to see Imperial hit top, but to see Republic get in there, that's pretty cool. That's cool.
And about I think the least represented faction, the Separatist, we had 2 players, and both of them made, when we think about the things that they have available right now, their lists were different.
Yeah.
Because Wojciech Theo Buda, who was 11th, with the record of 2 wins, 2 losses, he was playing on Count Dooku.
Okay.
And the other player, Mateusz Bikowski, was playing on General Grievous.
Oh, okay.
So both commanders fit their play style, but they weren't in one list. This was one or the other.
Oh, that's cool. Interesting. Okay. What did they just do the standard? Did any of them run the droidicas, or were they just the B1s?
Oh, okay, both had, I believe, 6 B1s and 2 droideca units.
Okay, cool.
So it was something like that.
Oh, that's cool though. Okay, cool. And you said the Krennic list was the list that came in first?
Yeah. Krennic, Death Troopers, Royal Guards, triple short troopers, triple mortars, 2 snipers.
Yeah, Shoreline's pretty strong, but Krennic and Death Troopers is always pretty just like standardly good, right? Like he's hard to beat.
we will see when Eden Versio comes.
Oh, I know, right, man. I'm really pumped to see. I'm okay with snipers having infinite range as long as they're on heroes. So you have to pay a premium
Yeah,
to get that,
definitely.
right? Like that's okay to me. And especially it's thematic that they're heroes, right? They can do heroic things. But
Those
I'm really
incredible
pumped.
shots on long
Yeah,
range.
right. Yeah, like
So
I
it
think that's
definitely
really
makes sense.
And there's that rumor that spilled out that it looked like maybe an Infernal Squadron might be coming down the line too. So
I
that'd be
heard
cool.
about that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just somebody digging or not, but if it is true, that'd be cool to have.
It looks legitimately. I mean,
Yeah.
there are all the product codes and all the information that is available basically when they are announcing a new product.
Oh man.
So I think we could see it next week, maybe, or in February.
I believe LJ said there's a new article coming next month, at least one. So it'd be interesting to see if they drop that because normally they do big releases at Adepticon, and that's in March. So
Yeah.
I kind of got a feeling maybe those were slated for the March, like that Adepticon release.
But if it leaked, they also have a tendency when something leaks, they publish the article earlier.
Yeah, that's the game workshop way too, right? Leaked articles.
Yeah.
Start throwing articles out about it.
It's legitimate. It's legitimate.
Yeah.
It's all true. All of it.
Everything you've heard, it's true. All right. So, anything kind of crazy happen at the event?
No, I think it was really welcoming atmosphere.
Cool.
Beside one player that we had some issues, it was really smooth.
All right, cool. Did you have to eject anybody or anything?
Fortunately not.
Okay,
but there were arguments that it could happen.
Okay, gotcha.
But I also didn't want it to do it.
No,
because I want to have friendly atmosphere on the event.
Well, right, because that's like,
and this qualification is major blow.
Yeah.
For anybody, basically.
No, that was I think you did the right call there. Just going on what you've kind of mentioned before, but it's sometimes you get tough situations, and I think not having to make anything real crazy happen just keeps everyone happy, right? Like no one wants to see an argument,
I mean, almost all players agreed to all the rulings that I made. Like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah,
we are playing.
Yeah, a lot of the time, even if I don't agree on what an opponent says, and the judge comes over, and the judge agrees with them, I'm like, cool, all right, Like it's just now, I don't see the point in like really stating a hard case for. I'm just like, all right, man. Like if that line of sight looks good to you, then it looks good. That's fine, right? Cool, man.
There was one funny situation though when two players. I wouldn't say that they argued, but they discussed certain ruling.
Yeah.
But this was before I came to their table. So one of them called me to the table, and when I determined that he can do a missed opportunity if his opponent agrees, that opponent said, if you wouldn't call a judge, I would allow you to do it, but because you called the judge, I won't. But it was pretty funny, and both players laughed at it. So,
all right, that's cool. Hey, man, that's the most important.
They were They had friendly attitude towards each other. So,
all right, that's cool, man. It's good to hear stories like that. When people just kind of, let it be a game and let it be fun, even though if there's a disagreement. Yeah. So that's cool.
Even though the invitation was in line for them, because we had an invitation to the World Championships, but it wasn't sponsored, so it's only invitation, but you have to pay all the transport yourself.
Yeah, I hit the same thing. I went up to Canada when I got mine, and I played a Clone Army, and I went undefeated, but Luke Cook, the current world champion, was also there. So he went, he went undefeated, and he had better strength of schedule than I did.
Yeah.
So he won, and originally everyone was under the impression that they got burned, and I'm like thinking like, man, of course I go to the one event that Luke Cook goes to. Like I lost to the world champion. Like I wasn't even mad. I'm just like, well, man, it happens. But then he informed me,
definitely.
like, no. Yeah, he's like, I'm like, hey, what are you gonna do, right? Like, he's like, no, man, they just passed down, and I already have one. Take it. I'm like, oh, thank you, sir. You're so kind. Thank you, kind sir. No, man, that's great. So what army are you looking forward to? What are you looking to play?
I was playing the Imperial since the game was even released, but I'm slowly thinking that I will switch to the Republic myself and have small bunch of droids waiting if I will get bored of the Republic. But I was looking forward to playing the Republic since the game was even announced, basically.
Yeah.
So, but I have a really small hope that they will release the Old Republic. That would be really, really, really amazing. And inside that Republic, I really hope that they will release Clone Commandos. So they leaked it that we will have ARC Troopers, but I hope that the Republic Commandos will be a thing, so I could paint my own Delta Squad.
Oh man, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. I loved Republic Commando. I love Republic Commando.
So I really hope that they will announce it one day, maybe even this year. Who knows?
Yeah. We still got Adepticon. They usually spoil some big mini stuff. So usually you just hear about X-Wing, Star Wars, and Armada. And then Gen Con is another release area where they usually spoil some more stuff. So I would be really shocked if you didn't hear about Clone Commandos coming. Because, I mean, they're kind of like everyone wants the Clone Commandos. They're cool, right? Like they're in Battlefront.
I think they could have the infiltrate keyword just like the Pathfinders, but could be a bit tougher than them when taking punishment.
Yeah, we a couple of my friends and I were just kind of thinking about it, and it'd be the way they're built and supposed to be tough. It's like they're comparable to Death Troopers,
but with infiltration and even more weapons, I think.
Yeah, and it's okay if those things are that strong as long as you're paying like 150. As long as your points are equivalent, definitely. That's fine, right? So it's I would love to put a group of Clone Commandos like in a kind of a rough spot, but know that they won't just get one shot like Pathfinders do sometimes.
But as this tournament shows, you can play the Pathfinders well, and then they pay out.
That's very true.
They pay off. You have to learn how to use a certain unit.
I'm thinking Bastan might see some more popularity now that people are kind of bringing armor again. Being able to throw an ion hit with a whole troops of die just out of him seems not too bad.
I just remembered we had one more fun list.
Okay,
I don't remember all of the details about that list, but the player was after it. He is a guy from Rebel. It's basically Rebel was releasing the Polish version of X-Wing.
Okay.
So he has a lot of information from the Fantasy Flight.
Yeah.
And he had an amazing conversion of Tauntaun Riders because he swapped the sniper heads with the Tauntaun Rider heads. So he had those fish guys riding the Tauntauns. So it was just amazing. And
that's awesome.
He had a lot of ion guns.
Okay.
And when he was playing against the Separatists, that Separatist player just grabbed his head and he couldn't believe what is going on right there because all of his droids were ionized almost completely.
Oh, man, that's it's really funny, right? Because droids kind of don't have, no one's bringing ion right now, so they just kind of have...
no, I believe after had 4 ion guns or something.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about the exact number.
Wow, that's cool.
But he had ions. Definitely,
really
he
funny.
had a lot of ions.
It's like when you see that kind of list set up across from you and you're playing droids, you're kind of asking yourself, like, why did you come here, man? Like, who told you that you're going to match up? Did you get like see in the future and say I was going to play droid, so I just doubled down on ion?
He was earlier. He was playing against double land speeder list, and those ions again come useful. So he had an amazing pairings with those ions.
The guy with the double air lance, we were saying the same things. Like, why'd you come here, man? Like, why did you do this? Double ion. That's really funny, actually. That's awesome. So where are you headed to next?
I think I will attend to skirmish tournament in February in Poznań. It's not that far from Warsaw, and it's funny because almost all roads and distances that we have in Poland are significantly smaller than those in the United States. So I can travel to across the country, and it still wouldn't be that far.
Okay.
So that's the one event I'm planning to attend with my clones. I've got Rex painted already, and he's ready to rock.
Nice.
And from the bigger events, we are traveling to European Championships.
Oh, cool. When's that
at
happening?
the end of February and the beginning of March. And it will be in Milton Keynes in United Kingdom. So we have 6 players at least that are traveling. We have already our flights booked. And we are practicing to come out on top.
Yeah, man. We for when we were practicing for LVO, a few of us we were like theory crafting what we might see, and then we would play a game with like we'll take our list and we'd have the other guy play that list just to see, you know, kind of like how we would do against like a hard Imperial gun line or tauntauns or something like that.
And I'm split between 2 lists, basically, but one of them is really dependent on the Fantasy Flight release schedule.
Oh, jeez.
Since I'm 70% certain that I will take my Krennic ATST list.
Okay.
And I have 2 Shores, 2 Mortars, Krennic, Death Troopers, ATST, 1 Stormtroopers with DLT, and 1 Sniper in there. And ATST has that long range gun, so even more impact on it, and 9 dice overall.
That's pretty good.
But the other list is dependent if they release the tank or not when the event happens. So if they release the tank, I will take then I will. There's 30% chance, at least in my head, for that to happen.
Yeah.
But then I will take Rex, couple of Phase 2 clones, couple of Phase 1 clones, and 1 Saber class tank.
Yeah. Did you catch the stream they had?
Yeah. I think the beam has the potential to be broken.
Yeah.
but not yet.
It's
but
funny
I know
because
that people already are thinking about double tank lists to spread 6 suppression with 2 attacks.
Jeez, right? That thing is brutal. I think it
And
hurts.
if you pump it with mortars from Phase 2 clones, you have a lot of suppression to deal with.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because they can. Oh man, gosh, that's gonna be. So the thing about suppression lists is if you don't have any Inspire at all, man, does it feel bad?
Yeah.
Like all right, 6 suppression, cool, he's running. So in my Rebel list, I made sure I had Leia and a couple other turning the tide, a couple ways to just dump suppression if I really had to, if it got really out of control. But man, those mortars plus those tanks, it's going to be real nuts. Like holy smokes!
But I think AAT will be also a potent choice. When I watched the stream and the guy rolled, I think 3 crits and had impact 4 or something, and it was
that
7
cycling
crits.
Oh,
it was brutal.
Like,
and I also about AAT. that will probably hit my collection sooner or later. I heard that some people made a Jar Jar figure that you can hang on the barrel of the tank. And I only heard about it that there were plans to do something about that, but I'm not sure if it was done or not. But
That's
if
so
it
good.
was, I would look forward to painting AAT.
Yeah, I know. Maybe the Shapeways guy,
Yeah,
Skullforge Studios puts out some really cool, like, just even like, hey, you want your E-Web, but you don't want it to be snowtroopers. You want normal stormtroopers, right? So you can, like, you make
yeah,
sculpts.
I saw those. I
So that'd be
believe.
cool to see a Jar Jar. That'd be cool to see a Jar Jar for the barrel. So if you're listening, Skullforge Studio, that's something we would be interested in seeing. Well, hey man, thanks for coming on. And
Thanks for having me.
Well, of course, we'll have to have you come back on after you travel to the a couple of championships, so we can kind of wrap up what you saw over there too.
Yeah, sure. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, thank you so much. Have a great day, man.
Yeah, so that was our interview with Jakob. So we're really excited. I'm hoping to start bringing in more of the international audience. So if you're from anywhere outside of the U.S. and you have a big event, like I'm hoping maybe next week I can get one of the guys from Australia on, maybe Luke, and we could talk about that. I got to work on that, and we'll see. So that was Jakob. Very cool. Good to hear from him. And so now we're going to move into We're Doing It Wrong.
We're doing it wrong.
All right, so back with We're Doing It Wrong. So the first thing is we were at a Prime this past weekend, and these events are always these great kind of hotbeds of rules, questions, and misunderstandings, whether it's us or someone else. So here's the question. Now, Evan's coming into this blind. He doesn't know. And so, Evan, Bosk gets off his 1 pip Dioxys grade,
Yes.
okay? He rolls, he picks a target, a defender, okay? I roll, and I roll all blanks.
Yep.
Does the defender get a poison token?
On Bosks, I believe he does, because it's when defending.
So it says when a unit defends.
Yes.
Okay.
So token.
So the question was, well, is it because I was declared a defender, am I automatically defending, therefore it's defends?
Yes.
Or is it, does it have to roll hits in order for me to roll defense dice in order to defend?
I see what you're saying. So, no, it's you defended. Even if it's
Correct.
nothing, you defended. And that actually brings up an interesting point that people pointed out. The droid goop gun.
Yeah.
Or radiation gun. Sorry.
So that one's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like goop gun. Go for it.
Goop gun, it's that one you actually have to take a damage.
Okay.
On to, because that's not, but the problem is in the RRG, it still has the info for Bosks still, so it creates some like what's going on. Well, I'm hoping with that new RRG that's coming out
Soonish, yeah.
They kind of just say, well, this
I
is
bet
how
you. Yeah, I bet you the RRG will be out by end of February. If they're keeping on track with the tank release being by the end of February, we'll see the.
They got it for Worlds.
Yeah, we got it for But yeah,
no,
so that was the question that came up.
No, that's interesting.
And it was very confusing, right? Because it's like, well, they didn't roll, so but it's basically, you got to think of it like suppressive.
Yep.
So if a gun has suppressive,
They still get it no matter what.
no matter once you're declared the attacker or the defender, and I roll dice, there's suppressive, no matter what happens on those dice. So you're gonna get 1 suppression automatically. Then if I roll a hit on those dice, you'll then get an additional suppression.
Correct. Yep.
So that was that. So just for those of you out there who don't know, it's a very rarity that on a black red to blank out completely. So the other thing that came up was cover. Okay. And how to determine what's cover. So generally, whatever majority of minis in a unit are behind cover, that's the type of cover that they get, right?
Okay, yeah.
So what had come up, determine the number of obscured minis. The player checks line of sight from the attacker's unit leader to each mini in the defending unit. If any part of the defending mini, including its base, is blocked by a piece of terrain, the player then traces an imaginary line from the center of the base of the attacker's unit leader to the center of the base of the defending mini. If the imaginary line crosses the piece of terrain that blocked the line of sight, the defending mini is obscured. The player repeats this process for each mini in the defender to determine how in the defending unit to determine how many of those minis are obscured.
Huh. I've never played that way.
Right. So what we do is just eyeball it. We're like,
Yeah.
okay, those 3 are behind that cover, fine.
Yeah.
You know, but what this is saying is like there's a line, and if it's going to cross that terrain, and I think where this gets tricky is if you're not cleverly enough placing behind terrain where you're just kind of moving up.
Yeah.
And you weren't like thinking about, oh, I need to get behind this terrain from unit X that's at my 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
You're more thinking about, I need to get behind terrain from unit Y that's at my like 9 o'clock or my 10 o'clock. And so what you're trying to determine is like, okay, so now they're at my 3 o'clock. There is terrain here. Do I have heavy cover? And then this is very specific with the center to center.
Huh.
So this did come up in a game to determine cover. And what had happened was 2 of the minis, even though some of their base was obscured, the line, we didn't have an imaginary line. We used a laser pointer line. The line did not pass through the terrain from center to center.
Huh. I've never ever played like that. So I've always just like my interpretation of the rule was if my unit can't see that fully unit's base, no matter how like even if it's us like 1% covered, they get cover from that. I've never done the line approach to that. Because if that's really going to be the case, like it's upsetting that they didn't provide like a laser pointer in the box if we're going to do that. Like,
right, and so here it even goes into further detail. When determining whether an imaginary line traced between the centers of the 2 minis bases cross a piece of terrain, the line is always treated as horizontal to the battlefield on a 2-dimensional plane, which means it's like a line you would draw on a flat piece of paper. A player should look down from above the battlefield to determine whether the imaginary line crosses the piece of terrain.
Jeez.
So here's the problem. So here's the question.
Yeah.
Do we allow laser pointers?
I mean, that's not even like
so if we're allowing them, then this is going to become in competitive play at least with people
miserable.
with it's going to become more of a question because most of the time, and I'm going to for 90% of you out there that are more like in the casual play area,
don't worry about it.
This literally never came up once in any of my games ever.
Yeah, I've never had it
I
come up.
never had a problem with this. Only in Tabletop Simulator. And if you go listen to our LVO stream, you'll know how much I love Tabletop Simulator. But that's the only time that's ever come up is Tabletop Simulator because they have the lines. It's a computer program, right? So we can see the lines. This came up at our prime. This was a huge fight. Yeah. And Raw rules as written because I had the buy during that round. I had to judge this. I read this, and I did exactly what it said, which is center to center from the unit leader to the mini, each defending mini, and he was out of cover.
Because that changes how a lot of everything I've ever played. So to me, here's how I do it. Like, so I get, you get your guy, my unit's firing at this other unit. I get down to his level, right? You look where his little head can see. Can I see 100% of the bases? If no, then they get cover. So for like this,
okay, so there's 2 different versions of this. Yeah. Okay, because here we are checking line of sight to determine cover.
Yeah.
If you can see over barricades and you can see their base,
sure,
no cover.
Yeah.
The problem was that this was not a height issue, but rather a horizontal drawing issue. So it's like, okay, I can't see all their bases because part of it is obscured by this piece of sketchy terrain that was kind of like jagged.
Yeah.
But so if I draw the horizontal line center to center, they're not behind that cover.
Oh. Okay. I mean,
and it was like 1 or 2 minis that we were looking at because the problem was, and this is something just to pay attention in competitive play, is when you're placing your minis into cohesion, pay attention to the terrain that's around.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the question that came up. So when we drew the line, it did not pass through the terrain to meet the middle of each of those minis bases.
Because middle can
except for 1. So that wasn't the majority of the squad.
Because that just gets real fiddly because it's like
it does, and this is just something to be aware of for all of you out there listening. This has literally never come up for me before.
Yeah, this hasn't for me either. But if the problem is like if someone wants to play that way, that's not a problem. That's not a problem because that's the rules as written,
Right.
right? Rules as written is like, hey, I got a laser pointer, bing, bang, boom. Those are your guys.
Yes.
But I've never like done that before.
Nope.
So
Same.
to me as a guy who's never played that way, because I always play like, can my guy, like let's say you've got a couple guys there, even if their base is covered by like a hair.
Yep.
Even if I could see middle to middle, I'm like, well, he's got cover because his base I can't see 100%. That's the way I've always done it. But I've done it for both sides too. Like I let the opponent have that luxury.
Oh yeah,
as well,
yeah,
right?
of
Like,
course. And I think we played a little bit more casually. This was just highly competitive.
Yeah.
And it came up, and rules is written.
Yeah,
that's how it
interesting.
is. So
I guess I've been like, it's just if that's the way they really want it to be done, they should give you a laser pointer in the box. Like if that's the
there's
true,
a lot of stuff that should,
like
you know,
that's a true.
But I mean,
way
I
to
think
do
these
it.
are the little fiddly things that they may end up fixing, like the true line of sight to the mini. Like, oh, I see his weapon instead of it being a cylinder from the base or something.
Yeah.
You know? So these are things that I think they'll fix eventually, or maybe they won't. We just need to deal with them.
Yep.
Okay, so what I'd like to talk about next is we did have our prime. I'm going to be honest with you. Evan and I are a little dark on how it went, so I don't think we're going to get too specific into what happened. But what I'd like to talk about is because this was one of our issues there, and I don't know if I blame the store. I kind of do, but terrain setup and planning, okay? This is a big deal.
Yes.
Especially at an event where there's a world's invite on the line.
So to that point, just to give a shout out to our local who won, Brandon, won the prime with a Palp gun line list.
Yep.
Then like another Imperial list, I didn't actually check the list. Was our friend Paul. Came
I
in
believe
second.
it was a Veers boss.
Yeah, Veers. So our friend Paul came in second. And then I don't remember anybody else, honestly.
Right.
That was the only two that mattered. But congratulations to Brandon for winning that event. But I just wanted to say that before we.
So here's what happened. Okay. There's a couple problems.
We can talk about our round one.
Terrain type. Okay.
Yeah.
Symmetrical terrain building, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and then also setup and planning of terrain. So game one, Evan and I get paired up. We both have our invites. This was supposed to be a fun weekend.
Yeah.
I just came back from LVO. I was already burnt out, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go just have a good time because it's all our buddies, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's all our buddies from Buffalo, from Rochester, from Syracuse. Like, we all get together. We get to have a good time. We know basically everyone that was there. I was really excited just to have a nice time.
Sure.
Not worried about the prize support. I could care less about that stupid box. That's a whole nother
I want the box.
soapbox I could go on. Like the RPQ gave you these great trophies,
That's
and
the
that
only
gave
good
you
thing out of
something
that box.
amazing.
Well, the problem was so quick tangent.
That
on
was the only good thing.
The only good thing out of the RPQ kit was the sweet trophy.
Right, this time around, all the cards and everything
else
but
is sweet, but the actual grand prize sucks.
Yeah. So, in any case, so we went. Evan and I got paired up round one, which was interesting because Evan probably has the only rebel list that could match up against my double heavies. I was playing a variation of my double heavies from LVO, not my exact list. I was trying something new because I saw some holes in my list.
I mean, you got a lot of games with it now, so you can start adjusting.
tweaking it. So we set up. We get paired. We get set to a table. We go over to the table, and then Evan and I look at the table. This table, imagine a symmetrical city plan with no line of sight blocking.
So symmetrical I don't mind as long as the table's built with stuff like line of sight, scatter, right? That's fine. But there was zero line of sight blocking, so we just kind of lined up in
No
front of each
scatter,
other.
no
Nope,
barricades,
nope.
no line of sight.
It was just these little broken building things that were easy to see through.
Yep.
Like a couple of them wouldn't have been bad, but it was the whole thing. So what happened was we lined up, and he had a tank so we could hide snipers. I didn't have anything to hide anything, so it was a bloodbath.
And yeah, I mean, basically, now you may think, well, Jay, you had Empire and Evan had Rebels. Well, you know what? He had the airspeeder, he had Tons, he had the FD cannon. Those alone were just eating up my stuff. And then he also had the Mark IIs and veterans. So he had a lot of firepower that was coming my way. I couldn't seem to like knock off his veterans as much. I'm like fire.
Dude, that first round of snipers, you're like taking 1 or 2 out of piece, like 2 crits, and I'm like, dude, I lost because I can't hide my guys.
Right,
so
right.
just his snipers just
could see everything.
anything he wanted.
Yeah, and then I was trying to play games because I knew Bombard was going to come at some point. I hid my snipers behind my tank first round so he couldn't bombard. Then I moved him out. I'm shooting stuff, but then it's just hanging over my head. And then because there's no line of sight, I couldn't do the typical sniper because my tank had already kind of engaged and was doing some other stuff. I can't move my snipers up because they're going to die because you have veterans. It was just a lot of bad news.
Yeah.
And, so Evan and I played, and it came right down to like basically the last turn. We went turn 6. It came down to the last play, the last activation, and it was basically like I needed to kill Leia with my tank. It didn't happen, and that was the game, and Evan took it. It was a great game, fight-wise, but like no line of sight blocking, none. It was miserable.
Dude, that was one of the days we first started playing Legion. We didn't understand, so that's the kind of tables we built. And then my second game was also 0 line of sight blocking, and I went against that Palp gun line. And when shores get to fire on you every turn, and mortars, and
and the mortars are just critting. So
Palp is pulling the string. It was I've never it was against my friend Brandon. So I like playing against him. And it wasn't, he did the right thing. He just stood and shot. Like, why would he need to move, right? Like, he sees the whole field range for. But Jay and I's game, we were both miserable at the end. Like, I wanted, dude, that sucked. Then I go to this game, and I just get shelled off. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? Because I couldn't even hide behind it. The 2 line of sight blocking trains were symmetrically put in the corners of each side, so they had 0 effect on any game type. The only things that had everything else was like these Warhammer mechanical things that were really just open like struts.
So here's the problem I have with symmetrical boards is what is the point of being blue player?
Objective pick, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's it, right? Board side doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
So like our game, it didn't matter. Like we both looked at the board and I had blue and I was like, it doesn't matter. They're the same.
Yeah.
And so that drives me crazy. But like, so what we're getting at too. So let's be constructive here. The thing is, hey, if you're TOing a game or a tournament or you're a local store or something, you gotta have line of sight blocking. That is key to this game. Like we gotta be able to hide our units behind stuff. We gotta be able to move them up and do things. Like
every faction likes line of sight blocking terrain, just so you're not getting shelled
pummeled the whole time.
Dude, it was the second game was just like the life drained from my eyes. For it's like I can't do anything.
Right.
Well, I guess that just made me like. I have these like tirades going why the mortar's better than the Mark II and the mortar gets cheaper and it just doesn't that just made me even like more want to lean into that.
Right. And for those of you like thinking like, well, Jay, you had Empire with 2 heavies. Well, here's the problem with that too. He could shoot me with everything. So like he's basically running up with tons, just like move, shoot, move. Shoot, move. You know what I mean? Till he got into base contact with me. Yeah, I put a bunch of hits into his tons, but 1 full unit made it up before I could do anything.
Yeah.
And because he's just move shooting.
So let me to go. The objective was sabotage.
Yeah.
Moisture vaps.
There was nowhere to put him.
Nope. No, there wasn't because we did disarray. So it was sabotage, disarray, and rapid reinforcement. So I took my tons. I'm like, they're troopers.
It was awful.
Yeah, it was. That was not good. So I rapid my tons down because you had your guys on like you put 1 set in the 1 and the rest over there. So I had that. The tons died because in real life they just die sometimes.
One unit, the other one survived.
One got
until they got into melee, and then I punched them to death with stormtroopers.
I'm like, I'm safe here, and you're like 4 hits. I roll my dice 4 hits.
You
and my
fell
tons
into
like,
my trap. It's like they roll black dice when they punch.
Yeah, they're better. They're better at punching. I made a terrible mistake. So like that was funny. But like then my airspeeder could just kind of go. So,
do whatever I wanted.
Yeah, and that was I had the harpoon, folks. I was so close.
He didn't though.
I was so close to harpooning that tank.
I got him before he could.
I really wanted to come.
I can tell you, I honestly, if that had happened. And you spun that around and then like shot it with the tons or something and killed it, I would have been like, all right, I quit. Like I would have just between the board and how that game was going, I would have just been like, I hate this game now.
So sure, I changed my list for the better. I was going to take the 4-point bid, but I'm like, well, people are bidding like 8, so who cares?
Tell him what you took that messed me up. What was it, round 2 or 3?
Oh, the comms jammers.
Yeah, so he put comms jammer on his tons and just ran up into my stuff and was like, yeah, you can't give an order to that ATST anymore. And I was like, oh, what? Like, oh man, that was good. Comms jammer on those, really good.
If I let you, because the way Jay, he has a linked targeting array on both his vehicles. Like every time he gets an order, and he gives them those an order every turn, like he should. That's the whole point of the list.
Yeah,
they have 2 aims, and he's rolling max damage every hit. I just like I can't handle this, so I went for the ATST first. 'Cause I'm like, well, if I do hit it, I probably have higher odds of doing damage.
Yeah.
And so I just tried to chip that down, but even so, like the couple times I got some of your tanks, you're just like block.
Yeah,
like,
the tank.
Cool. All right,
dude. It's so weird. Like, I mean, you've seen a lot of my games with that tank. Like,
sometimes it just dies.
Sometimes it just somebody's like, "Oh, here's 7 crits," and then I roll all blanks on the tank, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah,
and then with your game, it's just block, no problem, right? Like it's crazy. But yeah, that was a really good game. And even though I had seen your list and we had talked about it beforehand, I didn't in my head put together
like why
comms jammer and my heavies. Like I just didn't think like it just did not click.
I mean, to be fair, like I put a plate of my 1 pip. I think that was bombardment. No, ambush.
You played ambush and I played Veers.
Pin down.
Veers.
No, you played pin
down.
down.
Pin down. That's right.
And so you're gonna do that. So, but I killed it before you even got to do anything with it anyway. So it like,
that was clutch.
It was stopped it, but like I got the thing out of there. But it was I had to get in there. I'm like, dude, I cannot let him keep putting freaking activations on these things because they're just hammering me.
Man, that was really good play, and I did not see that coming. And so that's something for everybody to look out for. But all right, well, I think we're going to wrap up this episode. Thanks for joining us again. Sorry for not having an episode last week. We were just beat and kind of needed the rest from me, specifically from 3 days of streaming and being on stream. Like I said, we're going to have another episode this week. So this is our first or second, depending on when you're listening to it. And I'll be on again with LVO recap. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week, everyone.
Everyone, stay rad.
Join us next week for another edition of the 5th Trooper Podcast.
This has been a 5th Trooper production.